It was a cold November night in the Yorkshire Dales. The fog clung low over the hills like a thick blanket, muffling every sound except the hum of the tires rolling on damp asphalt. Thomas Blake had been a taxi driver for nearly 12 years, and though he had seen his fair share of strange passengers, none had unnerved him quite like this one. It was 1:57 a.m. when the call came in. A single female, corner of Bramble Lane and Millstone Road, the dispatcher said, her voice crackling through the radio. Headed east, says she'll give directions. Thomas grunted. That stretch was halfway up the moors. Isolated, he didn't like it, but work was work, and slow nights didn't pay the bills. By 2:10, he had pulled up near a dim street lamp flickering like a dying star. Standing beneath it was a woman, no more than 25, in a dark raincoat with the hood pulled over her head. Her face was pale, almost gray in the lamp's jaundiced light. She didn't look at him, just opened the rear door and got in. "Evening," Thomas greeted her with a quick glance in the mirror. "Where to?" The woman didn't answer immediately. Then came a whisper, barely audible. "Just keep going straight." Something in her tone made his skin crawl, but he chalked it up to nerves, or maybe the eerie silence that blanketed the moors this late at night. Thomas drove. The road narrowed as the houses disappeared. Trees bent overhead like skeletal fingers. His headlights carved tunnels of light through the fog, but everything outside the beam was darkness and whispering wind. The woman didn't speak again, no name, no destination, just silence. Thomas tried to break it. "Late night for a walk," he offered. "You live around here?" Nothing. She stared out the window, unmoving. After 20 minutes of winding through the lonely back roads, he asked more forcefully, "Miss, are we nearly there?" Still no answer. Then softly she murmured, "It's just a little further." Her voice, Thomas later recalled, sounded like it came from far away, as if underwater, as if not quite human. At precisely 2:37 a.m., the woman leaned forward for the first time. "Here," she said. Thomas hit the brakes. They were in the middle of nowhere. No lights, no buildings, just a break in the hedgerow, and what looked like an overgrown path vanishing into the trees. "You sure?" he asked. She nodded once. "Yes." She pulled a 10-pound note from her coat pocket and placed it on the passenger seat. "Keep the change." Thomas glanced down at the money, and when he looked back up, she was gone. The door hadn't opened. He hadn't heard it click. No movement, just gone. He spun around. The back seat was empty. Heart pounding, he jumped out of the car. Fog closed around him like a fist. He shouted, but only the wind replied. No footprints, no movement, no sign that anyone had ever been there. Shaken, Thomas got back into his cab and picked up the 10-pound note. It was cold, too cold, damp, and then it began to smoke. He dropped it with a curse. The note was written like paper caught in a slow fire, edges curling, blackening, not with flame, but as though rotting in fast motion. By the time it hit the floor, it was nothing but a brittle, burnt scrap. Thomas couldn't shake the feeling that something was following him. That night, he didn't go home. Instead, he parked at a 24-hour diner off the A684, hands trembling as he sipped black coffee. The waitress asked twice if he was all right, but he could only nod. He told no one what happened, but things began to change. The next morning, when he finally returned to his flat, the hallway smelled faintly of smoke. Inside, the scent grew stronger, burnt paper, stale and sour. He checked the kitchen. Nothing. No fire, no damage, just that stench, clinging to his clothes, his sheets, even under his nails. Then came the dreams. Each night, Thomas would wake up at 2:37 a.m., the exact moment the girl vanished, soaked in sweat, heart pounding, in the dream. He sat in the driver's seat, headlights off, surrounded by fog. The woman would appear in the rearview mirror, but this time her hood was down and her face was missing. A smooth, blank expansion of pale, clammy skin. No eyes, no mouth, just that voice leaking into his mind like oil. "You brought me to the wrong place, Thomas. Take me back. Take me home." He tried burning incense, airing out the cab, even sleeping at his sister's. But wherever he went, the smell followed. So did the time. 2:37, always the same. Always waking to the sound of an unseen passenger, opening the rear door only to find nothing there. Until one night, he left a dash cam running. Thomas didn't want to watch it alone. He brought the USB to his old mate, Darren, who ran a security booth for the council. They locked the door, drew the blinds, and played the footage. At first, it was normal. Empty road, fog, silence. Then at 2:36 a.m., the camera flickered. A brief flash of static. At 2:37, the door behind Thomas opened on its own. No figure, no body, just the door unlatching, swinging wide and closing again, as if someone had gotten in. Then, the temperature on the cab's digital display began to drop. 10 degrees Celsius, 7 degrees Celsius, 3 degrees Celsius, -1 degree Celsius. Frost crept across the windows in real time. And finally, on the dash cam, barely visible in the rearview mirror, a face began to emerge. Not human, not whole. It was like looking through murky water. A disfigured woman with hollow eyes, jaw torn at the cheek, skin split down the center like scorched leather, and she was smiling. Then she leaned forward, her face pressing against the lens, and whispered one word: "Driver." The screen went black. The USB fried in Darren's laptop, smoke curling from the port. Neither of them spoke for nearly 5 minutes. That night, Darren quit his job and left town. He wouldn't answer calls. Moved to Scotland, last Thomas heard. Thomas tried to act like nothing had happened, but a week later, his cab wouldn't start. The mechanic found a scorched 10-pound note melted to the inside of the engine casing. There were no signs of fire. Thomas hadn't driven in weeks. He sold the cab, deleted the dash cam footage, burned the remains of the cursed 10-pound note. He even went to see a priest, not because he believed, but because he was desperate. The priest didn't laugh. Instead, he listened carefully, then said something Thomas never forgot. Some spirits aren't just lost, they're angry. And once they sit in your car, they never truly leave. Still, he tried to move on. He took a warehouse job, tried to forget the woman in the raincoat, the fog, the voice, and for a while, it worked. Until one morning, Thomas got a letter, no return address, handwritten on yellowed paper. Inside was a single line: "You still owe me the ride home." Attached was a photo, a grainy still taken from his old dash cam. He was in the driver's seat, eyes wide in terror, frozen mid-glance at the rearview mirror, and behind him, she was there, more real than ever, smiling, looking directly at the camera, holding a 10-pound note, charred and smoking. with Thomas's name burned into it. You might think it's just a story, a ghost tale to scare taxi drivers and late-night wanderers. But listen closely the next time you step into a cab on a foggy night. Watch the rearview mirror. Count the seconds. If the clock strikes 2:37 a.m., don't look behind you. And if your driver asks, "Where to?" don't say, "Just go straight," because some passengers never leave, and some drivers were never alive to begin with. She's still out there, still waiting, and maybe next time she'll ride with you.